absolutely fuck as farmers, guys. Everything is so fucked, and I do not see anybody surviving this farm crisis that we're in. Guys, look, one of the best splorn crops that I have ever raised in my life. And because of the tariffs, China will not fucking buy it. And they are the only country in the world other than, well, they are the only country in the world that buys splorn. And so now I'm literally just chopping it, blowing it on the fucking ground because it's fucking useless, it's valueless, there's nothing I can fucking do to it. I am going to need government assistance to make it through this fucking crisis until these tariffs end. Look, I've never raised a splorn crop like this, guys. And this is just fucking heartbreaking to me. I don't know how I'm gonna survive. You know, Trump said he fucking loved us farmers, and here I am just blowing my splorn crop all over the ground. Hopefully he works a deal out where Antarctica and Mars will start buying this splorn and save the farmers. I'm sorry, splorn crop, but you're fucked.
Now, I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
He said, I love you, Mr. Trump. I need to see the fruit of your love.
5 of my customers have committed. That's how serious that this is.
And what it costs for us to farm is astronomical now.
I farm with paid-for equipment. All my tractors are 50 years old, and I can't hardly make this deal work. I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm.
After a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
We made a decision to go out this year in the spring. So my son will not be the seventh generation on our farm.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
So that's what we got for American farmers, is zero empathy. We want them to fail. That's what you're saying out there. That's what Americans are saying right now is, well, you know, next time you'll vote the right way, or that's what you get for who you voted for. That, to me, I want to say it doesn't sound very American of people, but here lately, that's all we're doing is complaining.
Okay, this is for MAGA supporting farmers, which is the most of them, the majority of them. This is not what's happening. If you pay attention to all your right-wing media, including Fox News, we on the left have been showing you empathy by trying to scream, this is happening. This is going to happen to farmers. We did it before you elected him, and we've been doing it after he was elected. I can't tell you how many videos I personally made after you elected Trump, where you are being destroyed. That's what empathy is. And it's not a lack of empathy when we just want to stay out of the way of letting the consequences of your actions take root. You're asking us as taxpayers to bail you out. We were bailing you out through U.S. aid and so many other Democratic funded programs. And we were happy to do that. We want those back. I don't see one MAGA supporter demanding that U.S. aid be funded again, because that's what kept a lot of you guys afloat. We on the left have been screaming for that. But if you want to talk about a lack of empathy, it's not going over our heads that you had no empathy whatsoever for our LGBTQ community and what was going to happen to them if you won your election. You had no empathy for transgender people, and those include kids with families who love themselves, each other, families, tight families, going through a hardship like you guys are as farmers. You didn't show empathy for them. You didn't show empathy for women who are being pushed now into this purity culture and this Charlie Kirk warped vision of making us just baby-making machines. You showed no empathy for brown-skinned people trying to earn a living, being thrown to the ground and beat up and kept in for-profit prisons that are benefiting Republican donors. You showed no empathy for any of them. But you're going to come on here in your high fucking horse and tell us we're the ones that don't show empathy. I want you to show one right-wing news source or content creators, Charlie Kirk, any of them, that have been talking the way we have about how farmers are being impacted by the Trump administration. Find one, and I will stand corrected. You're going to find nothing but those of us, the libtards, who've been fighting for your asses.
And on the next episode of Fuck Around and Find Out MAGA edition, child, tell me why they just found out that the video I just posted the other day was indeed accurate. That them folks that be pouring all that hate into y'all heart and telling y'all to hate black folks and people of color, they using y'all for a spiritual ritual. Let's go ahead and get into it. So turns out, they figured out. Remember what happened in Arkansas? Girl, remember we talked about how them people in Arkansas was crying because it's 7 generations of farming and that's their generational wealth and they about to lose their farms and they going bankrupt and that the subsidiaries was available to them. The money was available to bail them out. Should anything happen to their farms as far as like inclement weather, whatever the case may be, the money is there. They told them the money is there, but they can't spend it until 2026. And even then, there ain't enough for everybody. Well, it turns out they didn't found out the reason why that the money was pushed back to 2026 and it was included in the big, beautiful bill that they voted for, is because J.D. Vance, the Waltons, and another trillion-dollar company all did that. Yup. They sure did. They also all own they also have stake in a company. I think it's called like Acre something, right? When your farm goes into bankruptcy, right? And the bank take your farm, they come and buy your shit for pennies on a dollar. Then they hire you back to work it. They say, well, you can stay on the farm and you can earn the farm back if you work such and such amount of years or do such and such amount of work on the farm because you already own it. And they came and swiped it from right underneath you. In all fairness, we told you. We told you they would do that to you. We screamed it from the mountaintops. We pointed it out to you. We aligned it with historical data. The Great Depression. They did that shit throughout the entire Great Depression and Prohibition era. They also did it during the Civil Rights Movement. They also did it during the Revolutionary War. We told you this would happen. Again. And y'all, baby, Pluto is in Aquarius. And y'all, it's fucking y'all up real bad. Y'all done put yourselves into another 4-year cycle. That's what they did. They convinced you to self-sacrifice yourself for the next 4 to 7 years. Because even after he gets out of office, you still have to play catch-up. That's a 7-year cycle. You allowed your hate to drive you to the gates of hell. And in return, they got all your wealth. Gave it all up willingly because you hate people of color that much. You self-sacrificed your generational wealth that was already stolen to begin with, right? Self-sacrificed it. Gave it all up. Your generational wealth, your baby's nest egg, generational wealth, gave it all up to them folk. J.D. Vance, the Walton family. Who's the Walton family? The ones who own Walmart. That family. They don't even need it. They was just trying to erase Bill Gates. Bill Gates is also doing the exact same thing. We tried to tell y'all. And MAGA has allowed the hate that they have in their heart to not only swipe their generational wealth, that was stolen, by the way, right from up underneath themselves, but every generation that comes back after them, baby, it ain't gonna be no 7th generation of farmers. Ain't gonna be it. They're gonna make sure that y'all go into bankruptcy because they want your land. And then they're not going to get Mexicans or people of color to farm it. Oh no, they're going to get you to, because you're familiar with it. And when you refuse to, they're just going to go find some Mexicans, change the law, find some people that they kicked out, put them on the farm, and pay them what they would have paid you. They're not even going to pay them what they used to get paid. They're going to pay them what they paid you. They're going to give them medical benefits and all types of shit to make sure them people stay and they don't leave. They'll even offer them citizenship. Want to know how I know? How do you think they got here in grandeur to begin with? Post-Alamo. Clock it. Clock it. Y'all walk right into that shit. Oh my God. When I tell you the ancestors don't miss, baby, they don't miss. When I tell you karma is on her shit, my girl ain't missing a beat. And that's the thing. This is how you know you working with the devil. Because you will always lose working with the devil. In the beginning, it'll feel like you've won. In the end, you'll lose way more than what you had prior to when you worked with him. And you know you're working with the devil because he'll always give you a choice in the same exact way that God gives you a choice. He'll always give you a choice. He will always look for your consent. That way you can never turn back and say, he tricked me. No, he didn't. He gave you everything he was going to do to you in a thick packet called Project 2025, which included a subsection called the Big Beautiful Bill. And all you had to do was read. You shot yourself in the foot the first time with Project 2025. Then you supported the Big Beautiful Bill. They fucked you over with the tariffs, increased the prices on the raw materials that it would take for you to continue to do what you needed to do. You were already suffering, and they fucked you over with the tariffs. Then they sent the people that was helping you, the hands that were helping you, for a fraction of what they should have been paid. They sent them home. Fucked you over again. Then they did the Big Beautiful Bill and stole your shit right from up underneath you. Oh my God. Sorry to them families, but this is what you voted for. It's what you asked him for. He gave you exactly what you said. I want them folks of color gone. And he said, absolutely. And everything else that they touched, everything that they contributed is going with them. Yeah. He gave you what you asked for. You just didn't read the fine print. My God, today. We tried to tell you.
I do actually really give a shit that the farmers are losing their farms. I do actually really care about that. But it's not because I care about those people who literally asked for that to happen when they voted for an administration that wrote down in detail how they were going to do that. I don't really care that they are losing the farms. I care about the farmers losing the farms because it is finally the last great transfer of land and property that these insane oligarch GOP nutcases have been trying to do for decades. This is going to be the last big transfer of property. It already happened with all of our single family homes, all of our real estate. That's all now owned by corporations. This is the same thing is now happening with the farms. This is our American farmland that is now going to be wholly owned by corporations. And Americans who once owned and worked those fields for generations. And I speak as someone who is the first generation in my family who did not grow up on a farm. We owned those fields, worked those fields for generations, and now they're going to be sharecroppers, essentially. They're sharecropping on their own land. I don't feel bad for the people. I feel bad that the farms are now going to be owned by corporations. Does that mean I lack empathy? No, I don't think that it does. I struggle to find empathy for someone who is handed a piece of paper that says, I will hit you in the face if you vote for me. They vote for them, and then they get hit in the face. I don't have empathy for that. I don't have empathy for you causing your own demise, even though all of the rest of us were telling you that's what was going to happen and even voted for that not to happen. We were trying to save your farms. That's what we were doing. You didn't believe the person who wrote down on the piece of paper, I'm about to absolutely ruin your life. You didn't believe them. You didn't learn the lesson that when someone tells you who they are, you should believe them. And then you didn't learn it when we said, hey, they're going to do this to you. You should probably not vote for that. You said, nah, racism, brown people, brown people. So no, I don't have any empathy for you. I have a lot of sadness, regret, and general angst about American farmland now being owned by corporations. That is execrable, and I'm really upset about that.
Guess who just got the tea about what's going over on MAGA sides, specifically with the farmers in Arkansas? Child, them Trump tariffs is kicking their asses so bad that at the most recent NEA meeting representative assembly that took place on Friday, the farmers in Arkansas all collectively broke down in prayer. They started calling on to God. They started calling on to God because they cannot trust that Donald Trump is actually going to keep his word. See, the big beautiful bill, which a lot of these Arkansas farmers voted for, and the Trump administration is currently renaming because it did not accurately describe what was in the bill, promised a lot of the people in the agriculture industry benefits that a lot of these businesses will not live to see as they all take effect in 2026, 2027. Late 2026 and early 2027 to be exact. But like I stated, a lot of those businesses will not be around long enough to see it come into fruition. Apparently around that time, a quarter of the farming industry in Arkansas will be out of business. Y'all already know that I always come with the evidence. I always have the clip. So stay tuned for the clip provided by ABC7.
The government steps in to save them. Farmers had no one to turn to but God. It's only they're closer today than anyone else on this earth because we deal with your earth every day. You know, we're hurting anymore. We can't deal with what's happened to us.
Dear Lord, we are hurting here, Lord. We can't help what has happened to us. You actually could have helped it because you could have voted against it. Y'all could have voted for Kamala, but like you stated, she has a weird laugh. And here's a screenshot of the article. You can go and find it. Let's read along to the title. People have little sympathy for the Arkansas farmers who are asking Trump for emergency funding to save their farms. And because they can't trust on Trump to actually come through with these emergency funds, they started praying. I probably should have highlighted what I'm about to read, but it's in quotations at the top. It says, I have never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on. Welcome to the mentality of the average Black American here. Welcome to the mentality of the average Hispanic Latino person here. Welcome to the mentality of the average marginalized group member here in America. And to think that all of this could have been avoided, had you just listened to those same marginalized groups. If you would have just listened to the Black Americans here in this country, to the 92%, if you would have just listened. And now, ironically, the same tool that you used to oppress the marginalized groups in this country, the Black Americans in this country, the formerly enslaved people of America, religion, Christianity, prayer, is now the only tool that you can rely on because you can't trust in your government to look out for you. You can't trust in your government to help you. How fucking ironic. And just a reminder, because I know y'all like to forget, right? Anytime, historically speaking, by the way, the Black Americans of this country stated that they needed help, they wanted to be treated fairly, they wanted equality, you told them to pray harder. You sent them to church. You told them to pray harder. That if it's really meant for them, all they had to do was pray harder and God was going to hear them. So that's my advice to you, you farmers in Arkansas. Pray harder, okay? Just keep praying. However, I do have a strong inkling that we are not praying to the same gods. I know the God that I pray to. There's only one. I don't know what you're praying to, but pray harder, okay? God bless America.
Hello brothers and sisters, we are seeing something play out across America that is both tragic and eye-opening. Many farmers, especially those who are loud supporters of President Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, are now openly admitting that the very tariffs they cheered for have ended up bankrupting them. They are standing in front of cameras crying out to the government for help, while the communities they once looked down upon, black folks, immigrants, and even some progressives, are just watching quietly. Let's break this down clearly. Trump's tariffs are designed as America First policy. The idea was that slapping heavy tariffs on imports, especially from China, will force other countries to buy American goods, creating a stronger economy for US workers and farmers. But here's the reality. Trade wars don't work like that. Instead of boosting American farmers, those tariffs closed off major markets. China, which used to buy billions of dollars worth of US soybeans, corn, and pork, simply turned to Brazil, Argentina, and other global suppliers. That left MAGA farmers with overflowing silos, spoiled crops, and livestock they couldn't sell. The math doesn't lie. These farmers are losing money hand over fist. And the very policies they voted for, the ones they thought would protect them, ended up squeezing the life out of their businesses. Now, here's the bitter irony. During the years when these farmers were cheering on Trump tough talk, many of them also turned a blind eye to the struggles of black farmers in America. Black farmers have been fighting discrimination from the USDA, facing land theft, denied loans, and systemic barriers for decades. But when black folks spoke up, what was the response? They were told to work harder, to stop complaining, or even accused of mismanaging their farms. Meanwhile, MAGA farmers were lifted up as the backbone of America. They were praised, glorified, and given bailout checks. Yet today, even with all that support, many of them are still going under. And this time, the rest of America isn't rushing to save them. Brothers and sisters, let's look deeper. What we are seeing is not just about farming. It's about accountability. For years, MAGA farmers aligned themselves with a movement built on division. They cheered for walls to keep out immigrants who also work those same farms for low pay. They laughed when policies were rolled out that targeted urban communities, cutting food stamps and social programs many poor people relied on. But now, when their survival is threatened, they are pleading for unity, compassion, and government rescue. That's the hypocrisy. When others suffered, they were silent or worse, dismissive. But when the pain hits home, suddenly the government is supposed to step in. Let's not forget history either. Black farmers once owned millions of acres of land across this country. Through systemic racism, unfair loans, and outright theft, most of that land was stripped away. In fact, from 1920 to today, black farmers have lost over 90% of their farmland. Generations of wealth and opportunity were stolen, and silence followed. So now, when MAGA farmers are crying about bankruptcy because of tariffs they once celebrated, it's no surprise that many people are watching in silence because the same empathy and compassion wasn't extended to others. Now don't get it twisted. Nobody's cheering for their downfall. Farming is hard work. It takes sweat, long hours, and a commitment that few people truly understand. But what's happening here is a lesson that policies rooted in hate, division, or short-sightedness will always come back around. These farmers thought they were being protected, but in truth, they were pawns in a political game. And when the smoke cleared, the ones at the top didn't feel the pain. It was the everyday workers and families who ended up bankrupt, losing farms that had been in their families for generations. Brothers and sisters, the moral of this story is clear. Silence is powerful. For once, black communities, immigrants, and non-MAGA voices are not rushing to defend those who ignored their struggles. Instead, they are letting reality do the talking. This moment is a reminder that we must build solidarity, not division. That when policies are made, they should lift everyone up, not just a chosen few. And most importantly, it's proof that ignoring the cries of others will one day leave you standing alone when it's your turn to cry out. So let us take this lesson not with bitterness, but with clarity, because the day is coming when unity, not division, will be the only way forward. Until then, let's keep speaking the truth, keep remembering our history, and keep standing strong, brothers and sisters. Thanks for watching, and if it's your first time here, kindly consider subscribing, comment, like, and share this video. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.